music is a language is really what I mean to say. Because the songwriting part, I think, is kind of a not lost art, but it's a rare art these days. Seeing that moment come together in a mix, or with a writer or a player, it's like, and maybe encouraging them to go further than they thought they could, or giving them an idea just from experience that maybe they didn't consider. And it's like they take it, run with it, and it turns into this beautiful thing that none of us planned that day. That's the juice for me. I just love that. I just absolutely love. I will still, at my tender age, I will still get goosebumps if it's right. And as one of my great friends and mentors, Jeremy Lovick, always says, there's no substitute for right.
When you're trying to develop a sound for a game, it's a lot like creating music in that it's there's nothing there. So it's a lot of just sort of what's in your head. How can you make that come out into like the real world? And that is like using your skill set and also just using creativity, using your imagination to figure out what a game should sound like, what you want it to sound like. So it's similar in that way, I think.
Writing, pre-production, tracking, mixing, mastering. If you were to like do the food groups. It kind of depends on how you're looking at it. If you're looking at it from the producer's point of view or the artist's point of view, the artist is going to, there's going to be a lot of blood, sweat, and tears bringing that song to a place where it's ready to present to people. So what I see is when you put a band in here, I see, and I pull out the tape deck and I explain, now listen, you're all in this together. They like, okay, all right, let me get, all right, I'm ready. They get more serious about it, because they realize, oh, we're in this together. I'm so excited by seeing that moment when that teamwork comes into the music making process, because for me that's so beautiful. And then you get things that you don't get by endlessly perfecting and polishing. We do that too, endless perfection and polishing, because that is pop music. So if we're talking about a pop artist, it has to be that way. Mastering is very overlooked today. People think that you can just, send a master to the internet and it'll come back real loud. Whereas for 20 years, people trying to make records louder and louder until they're unlistenable.
It's a pretty thankless job. Audio is in the gaming and film industry, especially, in that if it's done right, people won't notice, or most people won't point it out.
There are some artists that have made an imprint on me that will never change, and I can listen to the same records over and over, largely because of the songs and the producers involved.
You need, to listen to games throughout the last couple of years that have won awards that are there and use that as a reference point. When we listen to music and say that this is great music, we usually have an idea of an artist that meets every single one of those checklists that is just killing it and whatnot. And I think that developing your judgment for what is good and what doesn't meet that standard is critical to achieving the quality of sound you want.
Well, that's what we're shooting for, is a sort of seamless experience while people are playing the games, for it just to feel right.
I think that whenever you can take people that are trying to express things and they make something of their own, they've made the world a better place.
Yeah, it's very much a passion-driven career. We're both very passionate about audio, and we want our games to sound really good, and we put in the time to do that, to make that happen and hope for the best.
To me, that's the real purpose of art, and the joy of it, and the goosebump, like we were talking about before. It's like when you get to experience, whether it's in a personal setting, writing a song, or in a group, or in a choir, or in a something where a lot of people have endeavored to bring that unison together. That I guess, off the top of my head, that's kind of how I see it and feel it day to day.